You just said that if a country came to you and offered you the ultimate reciprocity, no tariffs, no trade barriers, in return for us doing the same, you would reject that.
Of course, because they buy from China and send it to us. Don't you agree with me?
Suppose they said we won't buy from China.
Now we're talking. If it was Vietnam,
would you accept that deal?
We would consider it. For what things? For
what
products?
Would you want to change?
Well, there are certain products we want to reshore. We don't want other people making them. We want to make pharmaceuticals here.
Welcome back to Founding Voice America, the home for every God-fearing, liberty-loving patriot who still believes in the Constitution, the American dream, and putting our country first. Today, I've got something that's going to light a fire in your soul. I just watched a Senate exchange that perfectly sums up everything wrong and everything right about our current trade policies. What you're about to hear isn't just a boring government hearing. Oh no, it's a peek behind the curtain, an unfiltered view into how our leaders, yes, even the ones we kind of agree with, are thinking when it comes to our economic future, our sovereignty, and our security. So buckle up, because this episode is going to ruffle feathers. And I'm not here to apologize for it. Now, in this hearing, a U.S. Senator grills a senior White House official, someone responsible for advising the president on trade, about tariffs, reciprocity, and trade deficits. And folks, what I heard from that official made me want to stand up and cheer in some moments, and in others, shake my head in disbelief. Let's start with what this official got right. When asked if he would accept a deal from Vietnam, no tariffs, no trade barriers, full reciprocity, his answer, a firm no. And you know what? I agree. Why? Because Vietnam isn't operating on its own. They're just a middleman. They import billions from communist China, mark it up, and then ship it to us. That's not fair trade. That's a con. That's globalist sleight of hand, and thank God someone in the administration sees through it. Let me be crystal clear. I don't care if it's Vietnam, Mexico, or Mars. If they're just relabeling Chinese products and pushing them onto our shelves, that's a betrayal of the American worker. For decades, the globalist elite in D.C., both parties, by the way, have sold us out. They told us that outsourcing jobs would make things cheaper. They said trade deficits didn't matter. They said we'd evolve into a service economy. Meanwhile, factories closed. Entire towns were hollowed out. Our young men and women, people who want to build things, were left behind. So when this official says we need to reshore production of critical goods like pharmaceuticals, yes. 1,000 times yes. The fact that we rely on China, our #1 geopolitical threat, for antibiotics and basic medicine, that should make your blood boil. That's not free trade. That's national suicide. But then, things got messy. When the senator pressed him about reciprocity, the official started backpedaling. Suddenly, it wasn't so black and white. He says, well, we want reciprocity, but only for products we want to trade. What does that even mean? Let me tell you what it should mean. America first. If a country wants to sell to us, they better be buying from us too. No more of this one-way street nonsense. You don't get access to the biggest, richest consumer market in the world, our market, and then slap 100% tariffs on our goods. You want in. You play fair. Period.
We'll see if I was right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. Mr. Secretary, I think I'm like most Americans. I agree with some of the things that you and the White House have done on tariffs, disagree with others. It's clear to me that the President listens to your advice about tariffs, so I want to spend my precious time trying to understand how you think. If Vietnam, for example, came to you tomorrow and said, okay, Mr. Secretary, you win. We're going to remove all tariffs and all trade barriers. Would the United States please do the same? Would you accept that deal?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. That would be the silliest thing we could do.
Why is that?
Vietnam has a $125 billion exports to us and imports from us $12.5 million. And you're thinking, Vietnam exports $125 billion?
I'm aware of the figures, but tell me
But where
why
do they
you-
get it from? They buy $90 billion from China, then they mark it up and send it to us.
So you
They're
wouldn't-
just a
you wouldn't-
pathway of China to us.
You wouldn't accept that deal.
No, it's a terrible deal. We're the one with money. We're the one with the
then
store. Of
what's
course
the
they want
purpose-
us to take
What's
down.
the purpose of reciprocity then? Is reciprocity not one of your goals? Are you telling the president that we shouldn't seek reciprocity? If that's what you're telling him, why are you trying to do these trade deals?
What do we want? We want to encourage Vietnam to produce products they're great at producing.
But I want to get back to reciprocity. You just said you don't believe in it. You don't accept reciprocity as a goal. What are you negotiating in these trade deals?
Why would we
then?
open our bank account and their bank account when
Why are
ours is
you
10 times
negotiating
bigger?
trade deals? You're trying to get other countries to lower their tariffs and trade barriers in return for us lowering ours. I think
That's true for the things that they'll take from us.
That's called reciprocity.
Of course.
So are you or are you not seeking reciprocity in these trade deals?
We are absolutely seeking reciprocity with respect to things that can be reciprocal.
But you just said
But when they're
that
importing
if a
from
country-
China and sending it to us,
You
they're
just said that
not.
if a country came to you and offered you the ultimate reciprocity, no tariffs, no trade barriers, in return for us doing the same, you would reject that.
Of course, because they buy from China and send it to us. Don't you agree with
Suppose
me?
they said we won't buy from China.
Now we're talking. Now we're
Would you-
talking.
would
If
you
it was
accept-
Vietnam,
would you accept that deal?
we would consider it. For what things? For
What would you want
products?
to change?
Well, there are certain products we want to reshore. We don't want other people making them. We want to make pharmaceuticals here.
right.
We need to protect
All right,
ourselves for
let
certain
me ask you
things.
this, because I'm going to run out of time. Are trade deficits, are you advising the president that trade deficits are always bad in every situation?
No.
Okay. When are trade deficits good?
Trade deficits, for instance, let's say there was a company that had the cure for cancer. Let's call it Cancer Cure. And we were buying it and it was located in another country. We would obviously have a trade deficit with them because they have the only one of it. An example, our technology companies, our great technology companies, we're the only ones
So
with
a
it.
trade deficit is okay if they're products we really need.
If they're the only ones with it and we can't do it, then of course it's fine. But if we can do it, then we darn well better think about whether we're supposed to do it and whether we want to do it and if it's in our interest as a country to do
Here's
it.
what I'm getting at. I've heard you say that strike that. I'm running out of time. I want to come back to another subject. Tell me your understanding of the Trade Expansion Act.
I don't have a really good understanding of the term. I may know the act, but I may not know its title.
You're not familiar with the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 that gives the president almost unlimited authority to impose tariffs so long as you conduct an investigation? You don't know about that?
Oh, my 232s, of course I do.
Okay.
Sorry, I just didn't know the title of the plan, but of course I know.
Why didn't you advise the White House instead of proceeding under other statutes? Why didn't you advise the White House to proceed under the Trade Expansion Act?
The president chose IEPA because he could do it swiftly and he could do it sweeping in order to address the underlying problems that had created the $1.2 trillion trade deficit that was haunting the United States of America.
Have you read the opinion in VOS selections, VUS?
I have.
What role does the major questions doctrine play in that decision?
I am not a lawyer, so I can't speak to it with that kind of precision. That's a litigation that's under current investigation.
Are you familiar with the major questions doctrine?
Not offhand, but I did, of course, read the decision.
Well, about 3/4 of the opinion is on the major questions doctrine.
Again, I tend to not know the title. I know the topic and the details of it, but I tend not to focus on titles. Sorry.
I'm way over. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy, thank you. Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. In your
And here's the part that really exposes how disconnected these so-called experts are. The senator asks, would you accept a true free trade deal? Zero tariffs, zero trade barriers, total reciprocity. And the official says no again. Not because of China this time, but because we don't want other people making certain things. Folks, think about that. We've gone from let the market decide to we'll decide what you can trade. Now look, I get it. I'm the first to say we need to protect our vital industries. No more relying on China for critical goods. But what we're seeing here is a dangerous shift toward central planning, toward government deciding what industries live and die. That's not capitalism. That's not freedom. That's industrial policy straight out of the Soviet playbook. And then there's the discussion about the trade deficit. The U.S. is running a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. That's not just a number. That's money leaving our country. That's jobs disappearing. That's small-town America collapsing. And yet, this official says, well, a trade deficit is fine if we're buying something we really need. Really? That's your bar? So if a foreign company has the cure for cancer, then it's okay to run a deficit? Of course, in that very rare case, yeah. But that's not the norm. We're not running trillion-dollar deficits because we're importing miracle drugs. We're running them because we sold our manufacturing soul to China for cheap TVs and Amazon packages. Now, here's where things get really shady. The senator brings up the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, which gives the president the authority to impose tariffs for national security reasons. It's a powerful tool, one that could be used to protect American industries. And this official? He doesn't even recognize the name at first. Think about that. A top trade advisor doesn't know one of the most important trade laws on the books. He later says, oh yeah, the 232s, of course. But only after the senator spelled it out for him. You'd expect that kind of ignorance from a CNN analyst, not someone advising the President of the United States. And when asked why they didn't use that law, but used a different one instead, his answer was, because we could move faster. That's the problem. These people want power without process. They want to bypass Congress, bypass the Constitution, and just impose their will because it's efficient. Well, tyranny is efficient too. But that doesn't make it right. Listen, friends. This hearing shows us that some people in Washington get it. They understand that China is the enemy, that globalism has failed, that we need to bring jobs back home. But it also shows us that even the people who get it are still caught in a web of bureaucracy, half measures, and political games. We don't need more bureaucrats tinkering with trade formulas. We need bold leadership. We need an America First trade policy that says, if you want to trade with us, it better be fair. If you rely on China, we're not interested. And if you try to exploit our market while protecting your own, we're done. This isn't just about tariffs. It's about sovereignty. It's about freedom. It's about making sure America remains the greatest country on God's green earth. If you agree, hit that like button, subscribe to Founding Voice America, and share this video with every red-blooded patriot you know. We're not going to win this fight by being polite. We're going to win it by being bold, by being loud, and by being unapologetically American. Until next time, God bless you, God bless our workers, and God bless the United States of America.